guest tonight, and really appreciate him being here. Just a couple announcements. With Rising Coaches, again, the largest coaching tree in America, we had the Coach to Coach program again this week. It's twice a month, and we get paired up. We sign up and get paired up with other coaches, and the membership gives us a chance to meet them, share some things about us, make another contact. Obviously, we know this coaching profession is largely about relationships, so it's an opportunity for us to continue to build relationships. And by the way, you never know who a gatekeeper is going to be for your next opportunity. So it's great to meet people. I had a chance to meet 2 new members last week. I got paired up with another member this week, and I'm excited about it. Also, Twitter Spaces. We've kind of started this. It's been like week 5. We're going to keep that going. It's going to be this Monday. We're going to change the time to 8 o'clock Eastern time. Okay. So we've had great attendance on that. Those of you who haven't been on a Twitter Spaces, it's basically an informal audio only version of a Zoom, and you can pop on anytime you want. And great basketball discussion. We had a good guest this past week. We'll have another great guest Monday. And so appreciate you popping in on our Twitter Spaces as well. Hey, we say this all the time. We learn in the business from others. We steal from others. And we have a great chance to learn and steal from one of the best tonight. Coach, you're going to actually have to sit here and let me introduce you, because I think it's really important. No, I'm going to introduce you because it's really important to understand who we have with us tonight. So Coach Taylor, only basketball coach in the history of Cal State Fullerton to lead his team to 2 NCAA appearances. This past season, the Titans won the Big West Tournament Championship and advanced to the NCAA tournament for the 2nd time. Coach Taylor is also really active off the court. He's the founder of Think Tank. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Inspired by veteran coaches who poured into his life as a young coach, he's created this platform for the next generation of coaches climbing the ladder to receive guidance, knowledge, perspective, and leadership training. Coach Taylor is also the author of a yet-to-be-released book, Tailor Made for Coaching. Excited to see the release of that. Again, I've had the opportunity of working with him, and the thing that strikes me the most is he approaches his job with a spirit of excellence and a clear vision for his players, not just on the court, but beyond the court. Last thing I'm going to read here, Coach Taylor, is just my first encounter with you. Okay. Yeah, no. You're going to sit there and take it and listen and verify. All right. So here we go. I was an assistant coach on a staff, and we had a sudden, unexpected assistant opening and needed to hire another assistant. It was during the spring recruiting period. My boss gave me no direction specifically. He was doing his own thing in the hiring process like he typically did. I happened to be in 2 different cities and many gyms in a 3-day period. Each of those 3 days, I encountered an assistant coach from another school that was in our same region. He initiated contact. He welcomed me to that part of the country. He engaged me authentically and was kind to me, which isn't always the case, by the way. He wasn't loud or funny or creepy. He was professional and helpful, and he made a strong impression. I told my boss that he should talk to him. I thought it was a long shot because my boss really didn't know him, but he was so impressive to me that I strongly encouraged my boss to vet him. My boss hired him. He became an excellent friend to me, was an outstanding staff member. He's a head coach today, and his team was just in the tournament this past year, as I mentioned, and that's Coach Dedrique Taylor. He was impressive at that point, not because he tried to be, because it was who he was. And I say that, and Coach, we'll get started, but I mean, I remember that almost like it was yesterday. It was so long ago. I came into a couple gyms, and look, you're in a different part of the country and you're just trying to do your job. And typically coaches kind of have that, hey, you're in my territory now, but you welcomed me, and it was amazing. I didn't know you. We introduced each other, and you were really, really good to me during that 3-day period. And I think that's a great introduction to kind of who Coach is. So appreciate you being with us, Coach Taylor.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. That was a long time ago. I don't care to do. I think we both may even had a
Yeah,
hair.
no, I think it was right at the time that I met my wife, and she said, "Hey, stop trying to hold on to the little hair that you have and just go buzz cut." So yeah, it
Yep.
was about that time. No doubt.
Yep.
Hey, could you start by giving us maybe just a chronological progression of your path, your coaching path? Maybe that would be a good way to kind of get things started.
Yeah, sure. I will. Yeah, man, that was so long ago.
And even start with you as a player. One thing I'm going to say is Coach Taylor and I spoke, and it's really important to him that you understand there is no question off the table. He really wants this to be a situation where he can share with you anything that you want to know. He's had a stellar career to this point. The best is yet to come, but really please ask questions, because it's his desire to make that kind of the forum tonight. But go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Like, just jump in anywhere and ask whatever. It doesn't matter if it's on subject or on topic or off topic. It doesn't matter. I will say this, starting out, I didn't want to coach. Played for my dad. He was the original Coach Taylor, and I really didn't want to have anything to do with walking in his footsteps. And so I tried to do everything that I could to try to avoid that. And clearly that didn't work. So I started at a junior college in Reedley, California. It was called Kings River at the time. It's now called uh, Reedley College. And my roommate was a guy by the name of Heath Schroyer. He's from Walkersville, Maryland, and he's now the AD at McNeese State. Long story short, played, and he and I had a pact that whoever, if we both got into coaching, whoever got a head coaching job, one would hire the other. And that was kind of the start of my career. But previous to that, I had gone back to UC Davis to work, and literally my desk was a chair in the corner, and it was some books. I don't even think we had laptops. That's how long ago it was. We didn't have, we didn't have that stuff. So, but at UC Davis, I was able to get my feet wet. I was able to do recruiting. I was able to get into scouts. I was able to get into player development, like a little bit of everything. Coach Fogel, I worked for Brian Fogel there, and he literally let me do everything that I could possibly imagine that had to do with coaching. I left there. I went to LMU, worked for Steve Aggers for a year, and then Heath Schroyer got the job at Portland State, and so he held true to form, hired me. I was there for 2 years with him. And then I left and went to Nevada for 2 years, and then was at Arizona State for 7 with Mark Phelps and Herb Sendek and Archie Miller and Scott Para. And I only say those names simply because all of those guys are coaches. And so, like, if you wanted to coach and work for Herb, that was a prerequisite. You had to want to be a head coach. And also, like, you had to work. You had to bring it, like, because Archie Miller was not playing no games. Mark Phelps was not playing no games. If you got up there stuttering and stammering on your scout, listen here, man. Herb wouldn't tell you anything. Archie would be like, sit your ass down. So that is where I literally was able to cut my teeth and really, everybody asked me a lot of questions about Coach Sendek in terms of how he helps guys become head coaches. And I could actually probably spend the entire time speaking about that on this phone call. But the one thing that I will take away from him from a benefit standpoint was, among other things, but he allowed me to sit with him and watch film, which I'd never really done before. I kind of watched film and kind of knew what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, but watching film with Coach was one of the most the learning experience and the learning curve in terms of what he was watching versus what was happening and how it impacted our ball club was absolutely amazing. It was like seriously, I think we were talking about it yesterday, Mark, in terms of him being able to see, all 10 guys. It didn't matter. If they were in the frame, he saw them, he could tell them exactly what they were supposed to be doing.
Coach, let me ask you about that, because I remember my first time watching film with him. And those of you who don't know, Herb Sendek, 3.95 GPA, Carnegie Mellon graduate. I was with him at NC State, and I was intimidated because I was just watching film, and I was just, I thought I was seeing things. I wasn't seeing anything. He had such an ability to see all the guys. I don't know how you were at first, but I know I was intimidated at first watching film with him.
I was scared. I didn't say anything probably for like the first 2 weeks. I just sat there and I noticed something on his computer. His space bar it didn't even exist because he'd just be pounding pounding the hell out of it, stopping it nonstop. But I didn't say anything in the first couple of weeks. I just sat there and just in awe of what he was seeing and what he was saying and what he was writing. And it was literally a conversation to himself. He acted as though I wasn't even in the room. Like he could care less. If I wanted to say something, cool. But whether I did or didn't, he had a job to do, and that was to try to get his team better through film. And being able to witness that was unbelievable. I don't know how we got on that tangent, but that's good.
That's good. Remember, anybody?
What called your clipboard?
Yeah. Jump in and ask a question, please. Coach, I would love for you to maybe talk a little bit about the place you're at now. You're going in, you just started year 10.
Yeah.
And you're at Cal State Fullerton. Again, we mentioned earlier, no one in the history of that program has ever taken their team to as many NCAA tournaments as you have. Talk a little bit about your place, what you like about it. I mean, obviously you're in your backyard. I mean, you're to be able to coach for that long, kind of in your area, and just brag a little bit about the things that you guys have there at Fullerton.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally 32 minutes from campus to my front door. We're in the house that I was raised, and so it's not far from me. And one of the perks and one of the good things is that I don't need a map necessarily in Southern California. Like I know where I'm supposed to go and how to get there and the whole nine. And I think my staff is probably on here and they're probably saying, what are you talking about? But yeah, I do know that stuff sometimes. But I spent summers here, playing against some of Southern California's best players in open gym Tuesdays and Thursdays nights from 5 to 7. And I vividly remember being in the gym that I actually now am the leader of that program. And so location, I would say, is probably the best thing about what we have right now. When you say Southern California, you just get other people's attention at a completely different level, so much so to where I've been here 9 years. And I would say arguably our best players are always from another place, the Midwest, the East, international. I think we've had a handful, maybe 2 or 3, 5 players that are from Southern California that I would consider are arguably our better players. But our education is probably next. And it's not so much education in the classroom. Everybody everywhere gets the same education in the classroom, but because of where we're located, we're literally 12 minutes from Disneyland. And so like, if you want to get into communications, you can get an internship at Disneyland and figure out whether you like it or you don't like it, or you can take what you learned in the classroom to that internship and see if it works or see if it applies. And so I think that's the other thing from the location standpoint. You get a chance to use your education in a real-time setting. The other best thing, I always like to say this in recruiting, like literally, if you're at our campus and you go an hour and 15 minutes in one direction, you can put your feet in the snow. And then if you come back to campus and go 25 minutes in the opposite direction, you can literally put your feet in the sand in the same day. The same day, like, and I'm speaking like this is in January, and the beach won't be freezing where it is, the snow, it'll be obviously cold enough to snow, but it won't be, as cold as maybe some of the places you guys are.
Did you say you actually played pickup as a young guy in the same gym where you guys play now?
Yep. Same exact gym, like same. You said Brago, I'm about to talk trash about it, but literally the rims on the side basket, it's the same rims that I grew up playing on. Literally, like there's been no change. The same backboards and everything. If you shoot enough bricks like I did, you understand, and the dents that you put in the backboard, they're still there.
Awesome. We have a question. It's a great question.
Yeah.
And actually, I had this as well. But how about as a head coach? And by the way, I want to preface this. You know, I want you to talk a little bit about Coach Sprinkle at Montana State. And typically, this is not an indictment on anybody, but typically, coaches at their first place, your age, they're not producing head coaches. And so I say that as a compliment, obviously, but what are some things you can do as a head coach to help prepare your staff members for a head coaching opportunity? And by the way, maybe tie in Coach Sprinkle and his opportunity at Montana State with your response.
Yeah, I think a lot of it I took from Coach Sendek. Like you get your hands in every part of our program. Like you're not just a recruiter. No, you have to go out and recruit and be really, really good at that. But then in the same token, you have to be really, really good in the budget area. You have to be really, really, really good in terms of the player development. So much so to where you are literally involved in every aspect of the program. And so for us, it's not just a cookie cutter deal. It's not just a one-time deal. Like the guys, again, this is Coach Sendek's stuff, you know, like on our staff right now. And I think he's on the call, our associate head coach. He's in charge of our budget. He's in charge of, you know, a handful of things that he's responsible for, but that doesn't mean the other guys on our staff are not in that mix. One of the other guys, Chris Walker, is responsible for, he is the liaison between the athletic department, or not the athletic department, the training department, the training room, our trainer. And every day we have practice. Like he's responsible for telling us this guy's hurt, or this guy's not hurt, so on and so forth. The same thing with the academics. And I think the best thing about that is you get a chance to formulate your own ideas, right? It's not a situation, yes, you're doing other people's, or you know, since we're talking about Cal State Fullerton, yes, you're doing or trying to execute my vision, but you're also able to develop your own vision, how you would do things, maybe different, maybe the same. One of the things that I did at Arizona State was, and Mark, you might know this, but like Coach would be talking, or, you know, we'd be on the floor doing different things. And then we had a slew of managers. And I befriended one manager in particular, and we would put together these notebooks every year. I think it started after you left, Mark. I had developed a relationship with the manager, and I'd write something down. I say, hey, stick it in a notebook. And every spring we would organize that thing. And it could be academics, it could be speed game, it could be underneath out of bounds, it could be budget, it could be recruiting. It didn't matter. And that was my way of formulating my own ideas for my own identity. And now I challenge our guys to, in their own way, to do the same thing. Like, don't just take what I say as it's gospel. Nah, challenge it. Figure out if you think it's right or if it's wrong. Let's talk about it, you know, and that's similar to some of the things, or some of the discussions that we have. And Danny Sprinkle at Montana State, who took his team to the NCAA tournament, he's the only player and coach to ever do that at Montana State. The last time they went to the NCAA tournament, he was a player, and he was able to get them there this past season. And so, you know, again, you know, putting together our original staff, it also included John Smith, who's the head coach at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. They had these characteristics, and no, the characteristics weren't their name. They were just things that I was looking for. Like, so John Smith, for instance, he's been a head coach. He's put together a program. He comes from the JUCO ranks. And so he has a unique ability, in my opinion, to complete our staff. Coach Sprinkle had seen this league from the top to the bottom and everywhere in between. Like, he's been to multiple tournaments as an assistant coach at Northridge. He's also been at the bottom of our conference at Northridge. And so just taking that experience and telling us how it looks at Cal State Fullerton, I thought was really, really important. At the time, we had Rob Spence, who came over from Arizona State with us, and he was very familiar with me and the way that I thought we were going to do things, which is completely different, you know, year one to now year 10. So yeah, that's a little bit of the way. Hopefully I answered the question.
No, it's really good. And the thing that stands out to me is, as a head coach, a lot of times we're looking for execution, we're looking for efficiency, we're looking to get the job done. And the temptation there is to put people in their strengths and not allow them to do things that they're not so good at. So I want to commend you, because I've been on staff before with a head coach like, hey, stay in your lane. And he really didn't, by that very nature, promote development. So, if you get, I think that's great, Dedrique. And if you could just, again, speak to that, almost you feel like a responsibility as a head coach to do that. It's not all about winning and being just ultra efficient, but helping your guys.
No question. I think that's really the most important thing is like helping your guys, having conversations in between different things you practice. I think the best conversations and the best discussions that we have, they're kind of impromptu, but they can encompass anything. I could be pissed off at the fact that we're not in our gym right now, and us having a conversation about what that looks like, and not necessarily us not being in our gym, but it's like, okay, you become a head coach. How are you going to handle that? That's adversity. How are you going to show up for your team in that particular space? And so there's a multitude of things that we discuss that are not necessarily planned discussions. They just randomly happen, and I want to hear them. I want to talk about them, because I think that's the way that you get better. Is you learn from your mistakes, or you learn from the good things that you want to have happen again, and you take them for what they are, and you move forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coach, just going to switch gears a little bit. And again, any question is on the table for Coach Taylor. Please feel free. I started looking at what you're doing, and you're so involved off the court in so many organizations and initiatives that really address the game's greater good, but also really support Black coaches as well. I mean, again, Division I Men's Basketball Ethics Coalition, Advancement of Blacks in Sports, Black Coaches United, Coaches for Change, NABC. Honestly, how? No, first of all, how about this? How are you doing it? But then also talk a little bit about, again, just your desire to give back.
Yeah, my desire.
How are you doing all that stuff too, by the way? I mean, and you wrote a book. I mean, come on.
Yeah, COVID helped me do a lot of that, because there was nothing open except the golf course. And I'm a shitty golfer, excuse my language, I'm not very good. But it allowed me to have time to kind of dedicate it to what I'm passionate about. And what I'm passionate about is just trying to help others get better every single day. And if I can help them get better, then I in turn am getting better as well. So that's kind of how it happened. And yeah, my schedule is crazy and all that stuff. But you make time for what you want to do, for what your priorities are. And that's what some of those things you just mentioned, they are for me. Like I just accepted the position to be the head of the Ethics Coalition Committee. And I'm excited about the opportunity to not necessarily bring about change, but I think more so bring about awareness. I don't know that you can necessarily have change without some type of awareness. So I want to be a part of that awareness.
Coach, I'm sorry, but I just want to bring, that coalition has been a who's who of college basketball coaches. I mean, heavy hitters across the board. Yeah. And that's a great opportunity for you to get up there. The good thing about you is you haven't changed much from an assistant to it. You literally have authenticity in your delivery. You speak your mind, and I love that, because you're aware and you're sensitive, but you also speak the truth.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it is that's the way that I would like to be approached. Like I would actually like to be approached even more brutal than I am. Like just smack me in the face. If you have to tell me something good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent, don't sugarcoat it. Don't screw around, and don't try to scratch your right ear with your left hand. Just I mean, literally punch me in the face with the truth, because I can deal with that. I'm not smart enough to decipher from all of the different things that people say in the distraction. Just tell me what it is you want, what it is you need, what it is you're thinking, and then let's have a conversation about what it is so that we can be productive. And that's a space that I like to try to live in, is just try to be as productive as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coach Lewis has a question. Before we do that, can you just talk a little bit about Think Tank? This is, explain to people what think tank is, how you founded it, and what it's all about.
Yeah, just really quick. Think tank is more of it's non X and O's. Like it does not incorporate X and O's. It is an opportunity for us, particularly for Black coaches, to get together and talk about some of the nuances that happen or things that go on outside the court. Budget, your own personal finances, mental health is another buzzword, agent or not have an agent. All of the things that go on for advancement, those are the things that we discuss. And the way that it started, there was a group of African-American assistants in the conference when I got here. And they would ask our assistants, well, how does D do this? And what does he think about that? And I was just like, let's just get in the room and let's just talk about it. So what, we're in the same conference. I don't care about that. I want to beat you, yes, but I also want you to be as good as you possibly can be. And I'm driven more by that than the other thing. And that's how it started. It's largely based off of Villa 7. Mark, when we used to go, or you took me to Villa 7, it's the same exact premises, but it's targeted at a direct audience. And we're going to open it up and try and be more inclusive than we have been. But yeah, that's what the think tank is about. And I'll tell you this, man, like, this is not the reason why we started the think tank, but even out of the think tank, there's probably been 3 or 4 head coaches that have gotten the job because one coach got a job. The AD that hired him was sitting next to me, and he was on an assistant coaches panel and having some discussion in front of all of the coaches. And she leaned over to me and literally said, I am going to hire him. And sure enough, in 7 months, wow, she hired him.
Wow.
That's how it happened.
No, that's awesome. 2 things you said, and then Coach Lewis is going to ask a question. I want to bring attention to it again. Some coaches are so secretive, they don't want to get together and share anything that they have with the opponent. You're like, come on now, we're all doing the same things, And then the other part is this, the proactive nature of putting yourself out there in places like Villa 7, like Think Tank. Like, a lot of times we're just trying to do our job, and we're trying to, us 4 and no more. And nowadays we have to learn to be uncomfortable and put ourselves out there. I love your example of that, if that makes sense.
That came from you, and that came from Shaka Smart. So back in the day, a while ago, I forget when I was traveling back from, but Shaka and I are really good friends. And so he said to me, I think at the time he was a brand new head coach, or no, he was an assistant. He was assistant at Clemson, or I can't remember. But he said this to me. He said that throughout the course of his workday, he would spend 1 hour to 2 hours working on his own craft, like himself. And like that just hit me like a ton of bricks, because like you just said, it's us 4 against everybody and no more. And, you spend your time trying to help and promote everybody. Well, who's taking care of you? If you're no good, then they can't be any good. And so it's important that you sharpen your own tool first before you go around and trying to do your own thing. And so I will say that, and then I'll say this too. Like, when I was coming up back in the day, there was a group of coaches, Marty Wilson, David Carter, Gary Stewart, Marvin Menzies. They were a generation of that I literally would seek those guys out. So if they were out recruiting, I'm literally going and I'm sitting right next to them, and I'm asking a million questions. Hey, what you writing? Why do you like him? Why do you not like him? Why are you sitting right here? Like that for me was the way that I was able to learn. And those guys were gracious enough to where they didn't thump me away from them. They would literally sit me down and right next to them and give me the opportunity to talk to them. And they wouldn't sugarcoat it. They would tell it to me like it was. And I appreciate that. And that's why the think tank exists, because I want to be that to somebody. Or to the younger generation. I think somebody said this the other day. I think my sister, man, I'm almost 50 years old. I'm old as a mother freaker. You understand? I ain't the young guy no more. So as you can see with these glasses, I can't see jack. But Anyway, somebody had a question. I think Coach Lewis.
Yeah. Coach Lewis, for sure. We've been holding them off. Sorry, Coach. Go right ahead.
No, man, taking it all in. Coach, first want to say I appreciate you jumping on.
Sure.
Huge respect for yourself and your staff, right? Just kind of what you guys represent.
Thank
Success you've had the opportunity to have. I'm assistant over at Cleveland State.
Yeah.
There with Coach Gates, now there with Coach Robinson.
Yeah.
You said a few things for me that's kind of stuck out, and I just want to get more in depth with it. And it's kind of two parts. I'll give you both parts first so I can go back on mute. One, you said when you got with Coach Sendek, you just understood I got to work, right? So the first one, like, what is work? When you're working on yourself, like, and just looking for examples, like Shaka would get in the room for an hour and work on himself. What type of things are you doing when you're working? When you're working for your boss, like what's considered work? Like examples of those things. So I'll go there. And then the second part you talked about, because obviously being with Coach Robinson, first year head coach, had a chance to be a head coach at the high school level. So I kind of I understand the mentality shift. How are you different, right? What's the shift now from year 1 to year 10? Like, what was that transition, right? Just some examples or some things, like just things so I can, like, I'm a visual learner, right? I can kind of see it and kind of understand.
Sure. No, I appreciate your question. And the first question, the work, like what it is that you do to work on yourself. I mean, it could be something as simple as spend 10 minutes reading a book. Just giving yourself an opportunity to engage with or hear someone else's comments or perspective. Something as simple as, hey, I'm going to take, so there's one guy who told me this, and I started to do this some time ago. He said he had a power 25. He had 25 people that he thought would help him just sharpen his own deal. And so every week, I don't know if it was by a quarter, but let's just say every month he reached out to those 25 people once a day, not once a day, one person or two people for that week or that month. Does that make sense? And he would reach out to him and he would just say, hey man, I'm just checking in, just touching base. I don't want anything. And you'd be amazed at how that just strikes up conversations with guys. Another way would be, what is your defensive philosophy? If you had to become the head coach, what is your defensive philosophy? What 3 things do you want your defense to look like? What 3 things do you want your offense to look like? And it's not necessarily to say you're not taken away from Cleveland State. You're actually challenging yourself to prove, hey, I like this or I don't like that, underneath, out of bounds. That's a stickler for me. Again, Herb Sendek, we'd spend 98,000 minutes a day on just underneath, out of bounds. And so I am aware of that, and it's become a cog in my wheel. Like, it's something that I spend a lot of time doing. So there's a myriad of different things that you can use or do to try to do the work or sharpen your tool. One of the things that I think is really, really important for us as coaches, mental health aspect. That could also mean just get up from your office and just go outside and walk. Go somewhere for a walk and clear your mind or think about things. Who knows? But like, just get up from your desk and go walk. Different things like that. Does that make sense in terms of the work? And literally, feel free to just text me, call me, email me. Danielle has my number. Just ask, and we can have a conversation in terms of what that looks like, because that's a legitimate conversation. The other thing, legitimate conversation. The other thing is I would say is like, working for somebody, how are you indispensable? If you were not at practice, what are they going to miss because you're not at practice? And literally build your rep within your coaching staff of being that guy, whether it's the energy you bring to practice, whether it's the player development you bring to practice, whatever it is. If you have to go on the road recruiting, the coaches, the players are calling you like, where are you? What are you doing? When are you coming back? That's a level of indispensableness that I'm talking about. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it up. I think you asked, the other question was, what's different between year 1 and year 9, year 10 now? Literally, I could probably spend 6 days just talking about that question, but I'll summarize it from this standpoint. I think there's a level of clarity that exists today in our program that wasn't there year 1. from this standpoint in terms of what the recruits look like, what the players look like. Like when I first got here, I wanted any and everybody. Literally, I just wanted talent. I just wanted to assimilate as much talent as I possibly could, and I could coach them. Well, I quickly learned that I can't coach them. I quickly learned and provided myself with a level of clarity in terms of what's important. Character is really, really important. I thought back about the days that I was at Nevada, the days that I was at Arizona State, the days that we were really good. We were really good because at night I could turn my phone off and I never had to worry about those guys. So character is really, really important. And what I mean by that is like choosing right from wrong. Guys that know right from wrong and they choose right more than they choose wrong. It's not to say that they're going to be perfect because nobody is. They're going to screw up. But are they going to come and tell you that they screwed up, or are you going to have to hear it from your president? And if you have to hear it from your president and you still ain't talked to Jimmy, man, that's a whole nother deal, if that makes sense. And so just from that, in terms of the character, in terms of the work, like you brought this word up, work, like that's a part of our culture. If you don't work hard, I don't have to say anything as the head coach of this program. Our culture will chew you up and spit you out. If you come in the weight room and you don't work, but those guys won't let you in. They'll tell you, hey, we don't do that here. So those identifying one or two or three or four things from a culture standpoint that are important to you. And here's the thing about culture. It exists no matter what. Whether it's you defining what that culture is and working every day to prove it, or you not defining what it is, and it's just chaos. It exists no matter what. That culture exists, and it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to whoever the head coach of that program is to fight for their culture every single day. Learning that lesson, I had to learn that lesson, and so that's another thing that makes me different between year 1 and year 10. And literally, I could go on and on and on, but those are a couple of things that are different. I think also just a lot more. I don't want to use the word cerebral because that would imply that I'm smart, because I'm not smart, but I'm a lot more reluctant to make a hasty decision. Like I want to try to see if can we gather all the information and then make the best decision for us to move forward, literally. And when I say move forward, it's like take your left foot and pick that mug up and put it forward, and then figure out how to put your right foot pick it up and put it right behind that one. And that will move and propel yourself forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so sometimes, Coach, the patience part of that is counterintuitive. No, we got to do, but you're saying, no, let's slow down. Let's make the right decision. I want to be challenged because I want to come up with the best, with the best outcome and the best decision. I love that. I love that. Coach Cabral, I hope I'm saying that name right. Coach Cabral, go right ahead with your question.
Coach Taylor, what's going on, brother?
Man, first of all, tell them how to say your doggone name. That ain't your name.
Help me. Say it.
Cabral.
Yeah.
Cabral. All right.
Yeah.
I'm teachable.
What's up, dude?
What's up, man? 2 questions for you. Number 1, what drives you where you are now, being in the business so long? What drives you in this profession? And then the second one kind of goes to you being on the committee and kind of growing this game. What changes can we make in this game to get it better? Yeah,
I'll answer. Try to answer that one before the other. So like what drives me is just simply being better. Literally being better today than I was yesterday, and being better tomorrow than I was today. That's what drives me. And in that, just saying that in itself, there's like 100 things that just race through my mind of different things that I could do today that I didn't do as good yesterday. And trying to be that simple, trying to be not trying to be all calculated and, hey man, like, listen, I want to be known for being consistent and a truth teller. That's what I want to be known for. I want people to say, hey, that guy right there, he's consistent and he's going to tell you the truth. That's it. Like whether that impacts people or not, awesome. Who cares? My point is, I want you to be able to know what to expect from me. It's just like us as all coaches. When we look down the bench, We want to know that, hey, when we put Jimmy in it, we want to know what Jimmy's going to do. If Jimmy is a 3-point shooter, Jimmy, hey, don't be going in there trying to dunk. That ain't your thing. So like that's what drives me. And again, I'm driven off of the unadulterated, nasty, ugly, just truth. Just because again, I can operate from that. And I even like the bad stuff because there's so much growth and there's so much learning, so much learning opportunity in the bad. There just is. I like that. I covet it. Actually, I think I'm screwed up because I look around the corner for confrontation and I look for the truth. And I meet him head on. In regards to the committee, I don't know that necessarily is something that I said earlier. I'm not infatuated with change. I'm just not infatuated with that word. I'm infatuated more so with awareness, creating a different level of awareness, knowing that, hey, we do have a committee that's out there that's looking at things and trying to make them better. I want to utilize this platform to be blunt, to impact us, African-American coaches. I want to see if we can impact us by creating a different level of awareness. Because again, you look at who do you coach? 85, 95% of your team, African-American. Well, why aren't they on the sideline coaching? So those are a couple of things that I do want to impact, from this platform.
Awesome. Coach Benedict, go right ahead, please. Thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Hey, Coach Taylor. My name is Caitlin Benedict. I have the pleasure of working for your good friend, Mo Williams.
Oh, nice.
So I've heard a lot about you, and I'm
sorry.
connected with Jay Wells too. So
Sorry.
it's all good, man. All good things. But my question for you is, you were talking about learning how to watch film better.
Yeah.
Can you share some of those tools that were added to you while you were there, and helped you be better at that?
Yeah, there was, I'll just give you two things. Number one, Herb has an unbelievable amount of experience. And not only with his experience, he has a perspective that he watches and sees the game a certain type of way. And so being able to be in the room and see and learn, okay, this is who I work for, right? This is how I want to develop skill for, like in our skill development. So if I know he's watching a certain way that he wants to come off of a ball screen, then I'm going to take those tools and apply them on what we do every single day. And so the small little nuances of the game, like for instance, and I've heard this before, but I'll use it for instance with you, like coach didn't underneath out of bounds. Most people, and I don't know if they do it still, but most people get the ball from the ref and they slap the ball to get you going. Well, coach was different. Our goal was, as soon as the ref hands you the ball, let's move. And so I was able to learn those things by watching film with him, if that makes sense. From a defensive standpoint, how you close out. That was really, really important to him, the detail of closing out. And so instead of me showing these guys and drilling these guys on something that wasn't important, watching film with him allowed me to see, okay, this is how he wants guys to close out. This is what's important to him. Another, I think it's funny, Mark, pushback. Like I hated that. I could not stand that. Oh my goodness. Because I just don't. But now I am the pushback king. There's never a day that goes by in practice that I don't say pushback, because it's important. If you don't push back, you can't guard the ball. So just little nuances like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It really gave me an ability to learn my head coach and what was important to him. And then I could devise a game plan based on the things that I thought or I learned that were important to him. Hey, they need to show up in our practice. They need to show up in our drill work. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, so basically you're saying you use film to see if you're executing what's important to him, and then you can give him feedback on, hey, we might need to work on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't give him feedback. I wouldn't say nothing. I was scared of that dude. I would more so watch what he was watching and then take it and devise a game plan for. I coached the guards. So like there were one or two or three things that I knew he was watching on film, and I would make sure that we did those things. So much so to where those things needed to start showing up in games.
Mm-hmm.
So we practiced those habits, building those habits, like catching the ball on a rebound and then outletting it. He wanted it done a certain way. And so being able to watch it on film, I could understand it, I could see it, and then I could hopefully get our guys to do it, if that makes sense.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Any questions, please feel free. Coach, we talked about your successes, 10 years as a head coach. Talk about the low moments and how that adversity served as a springboard for the good stuff, because it hasn't been a walk through a rose garden the whole time.
Yeah, no, it definitely hasn't. In fact, I think maybe our third or fourth year. So when we first got here, we signed a 4-year deal. And I think it was the third year, I thought we were kind of turning the corner and kind of figuring it out, and some adversity hit our program and we weren't able to get where we were trying to go. So we had to go to year 4. We were not winning. I think by year 3, I want to say we might have won 3 or 5 conference games. And you're judged on winning and losing, obviously. And so I say this a lot, like you can learn so much about you as a person in adverse situations, how you respond. And there were a lot of nights during that year 4, where I would be awake at 4, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning asking, am I enough? Is the way that I want to play, is the way that I believe, is it enough for us to be successful? And yeah, we had some success, and I was able to answer those questions. They were able to be validated in large part just simply because we went on to, I won't even say the NCAA tournament. We won, I think it's 20 games or 18 games. I forget however many, but we went to the postseason. And a lot of it was just, it was an opportunity for me to question myself. Hey, are we doing these things right? Can we do it better? Is there a level of conviction with what we're trying to do? Does it make sense? Does it work? And I was able to answer those questions and have some success with that.
Yeah. Get as real and raw as you want to about self-doubt sometimes, because I think all of us have been there. Like we look around and we do the comparison game, like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not big enough, I don't have enough connections. Like that can be real sometimes, and it probably touches on the mental health aspect that you mentioned earlier too, but
yeah,
that can affect us, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a large part of us, as humans and particularly as coaches. And so there's a quote that's on my board, right? Like as soon as you walk in, and it says, comparison is the thief of joy. When you start comparing yourself to other people in their race, that's when you lose your own joy. Know who you are. I think we talked about this yesterday. It's a really, really important thing to me to know who you are. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are you going to stand for? Like when you're done, when they have that little dash in between the years that you were here, what did you stand for? What do you believe in? And I think you have to fight for that. But even then, it's human nature to question those things. It's human nature to doubt those things, to wonder, man, are they right? Are they wrong? And in the way that and it happens to me, I do it all the time. It happens every day. Every single day I doubt or I question, man, is that the right thing to do? Should we do that? And you just roll with it. You make a decision, you're convicted by it, you roll with it. And then on the aftermath of that decision, you have to go back, in my opinion, and reevaluate, was that the right thing to do? Yeah. What did we learn? What did we not learn? And that self-doubt is always there. It's going to always be there. And how you deal with it, different people have different ways. I just go through it and try to figure it out in terms of after it's all said and done, so to speak, like after the decision has been made.
Yeah, awesome. Coach Elkin, go ahead, and then Coach Ellison's after him. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Sorry I missed that earlier, Matt.
No, you're good. Coach Taylor, good to see you. Appreciate you sharing. And I think that one thing that I've struggled with personally, and I know other coaches do too, is like when you're an assistant or whatever, and you're in a collaborative environment, you have an idea for something, whether it's X's and O's or something else within the team, and the idea either gets shot down or it's unsuccessful. You think that it was like your idea, so you really screwed up, and you really connect personally to that philosophy or suggestion or whatever. And then I'm sure as a head coach as well, you have a philosophy about a game plan or something else, and it doesn't go well, and you connect personally to that. So I guess it's kind of almost a follow-up to Coach Phelps, but just like how have you tried to detach yourself from that, and as far as not putting so much blame or pressure, or kind of detaching like this idea, if it doesn't go well, it's not something that I did wrong, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I think this, man, like those decisions and those opportunities, they don't necessarily define you as a person. It's what you're trying to do. What are you trying to do? To me, it's the effort. As long as you give great effort, I tell my little girls, like my oldest daughter, she got like the teacher emailed us the other day. She got like a 66 in this class. And she was a little bit distraught, but her mom was very distraught. And I said in front of them, I said, hey, did you do your best? Was that the best that you could do on that day? And she said, yes, Daddy, that is it. I said, well, then what are we talking about? Understand that failure is a part of life. It's like baseball. Those guys are getting paid millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to hit the ball two out of 10 times, 3 out of 10 times. So that means 7 times they are going to fail. And I think you have to allow yourself to provide some space for failure to happen. I think that the one of the things that we do as coaches, we think we're perfect. We're not. We're not. We're going to fail. Allow for failure to happen. And when it does happen, appreciate it, learn from it, and move on. If that makes sense. Like, don't sit in it. Don't, and whether it's good or bad, don't sit in it. Because if you do, it'll gobble you up. But you are exactly right. Like us as coaches, we do get personally attached to ideas and philosophies and thoughts. And my whole thing is just like, do your best. What do you, that idea and that thought was driven by doing your best. And as long as you are doing your best, understand that your best some days is not good enough. But that doesn't mean anything. It just means that tomorrow's going to have another opportunity. You're going to be able to create another perspective, another opportunity. You learn from what just happened and then move forward. If that makes sense. And that's a lot easier said than done. But trust me, I'm speaking from experience. I've learned to make space for failure. And I've learned to deal with failure by making space for it, learning from it. And as much as we wash ourselves off in terms of, take a shower at the end of the day, wash those mistakes off, let it go down the drain, and let's live to fight another day.
Awesome. Coach Ellison. Thanks, Coach Elkin.
Hey, Coach Taylor. I want to tell you, appreciate you for taking the time to share your perspective with us.
Cool.
I had 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
The first question kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying earlier about how you want to help other coaches become head coaches. So, with it being midway through September right now, I just have a question. Like, what are 3 things that you're focused on as a head coach at this point of the year? And for my second question, it also kind of piggybacks off of what Coach Lewis was asking about earlier. What I'm saying, what have you learned offensively and defensively from last season that you're going to implement this year?
Yeah. Those are really good questions. So I'll start with the first one. What am I worried about right now? This in September, recruiting. That's driving me right now. And I said this to our staff. I might have said it today, even today. Like in September, I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything for a player. I'll go anywhere. Like I got to leave Sunday. I don't come back till Wednesday. I think I got to go to Arkansas. I got to go to Missouri. I got to go to Missouri. Yeah, Branson, Missouri. I got to go all these different places. And I'll go. I'll go with bells and whistles on. But come October, I'm not going anywhere. because I want to coach our team. I want to see if we can implement some of the concepts that I'm going to tell you about here shortly. Can we grow them? Can we get them better? Can we down ball screens? Can we be as good as we need to be at downing a ball screen? Can we be as good as we need to be at tagging? Can we be as good as we need to be at scrambling? Those are things that are swirling around, but right now everything for me is driven by recruiting. We need to, obviously we need 2 players. We need 2 more players. We got 2 commitments, but we need 2 more players. And so a lot of it is all recruiting. But we're still working out with our ball club, and I'm very, very fortunate to where our assistants are running a lot of it. They do a lot of the work. They watch the film. We talk about it, but they're running a lot of it. So I let them do it. And then October comes, here I come, if that makes sense. Remind me again of the second question. 3 things that I, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you for that first answer. The second question was, what have you learned offensively and defensively from last season that you're implementing this year?
Ooh, I'm learning last year offensively, we had 2 really, really good players that we don't have this year. So our offense sucks. Offensively, I wouldn't say. Yeah, offensively, I'm more driven by trying to create more space for the ball to breathe. I think this year we have a different team. We have more of a traditional 4-round-1 team, whereas last year we were kind of like 3.5, around 2.5. We had the best player in our conference. He was the MVP. He literally would eventually Watusi his ass up to the elbow and screw up our spacing, but he would catch the ball and he was pretty productive. I mean, productive to a point where I think he was at 18 points a game and 9 or 10 rebounds a game. So if he wanted to Watusi anywhere, he could, because he was really good. From a defensive standpoint, though, like, we're trapping more. Don't tell anybody I said that, but we're trapping more off of our ball screen stuff. Yeah, we're just trapping more. Yeah, we're doing that a lot more than we were last year. Again, because of our lack of size. I think we're a little better maybe athletically, and I want to use that to our advantage.
Awesome. Good stuff. Coach Lewis, go ahead.
Coach, I'll be brief.
Yeah.
When you're failing as a head coach, right, you're going through a little bit of adversity. What expectations or things or ways can assistant coaches help you, or what do you expect out of them when you in that state of mind, or the program is in that situation?
Get the hell out of the way. That's number one. No, I'm just playing. When I'm in those situations, I like to go back to having productive conversation, like not necessarily trying to figure out or necessarily trying to figure out why it is. Why are we going through these things? Is it because the teams that we're playing are that much better than us? Is it because we're not executing on both ends of the floor? Like, I want to know truthful information. Like, don't just grab something out of your butt thinking that's going to help. That doesn't help me. That infuriates me more than anything. Like, let's have some conversation that is productive, and it comes from what you're watching on film, if that makes sense. And your question is all of us head coaches are different. Like, I've worked for head coaches that they don't want to hear that. I've worked for other head coaches that they don't necessarily want to hear it in front of the whole staff. So you email them or you write it down on a note card and you slip it under their door when they're not there, so that when they come in the next morning, it's the first thing that they see. In my opinion, I think you have to be driven as an assistant coach. You have to be driven by trying to get it right more than you are trying to, get fame, so to speak, or hey, I'm responsible for that. Hey man, like, we're trying to win. You got to be, in my opinion, driven by winning. And that will allow you to be what your head coach needs. And sometimes he does need or want you to leave him alone, him or her. Like this is, to me, being a head coach is a very, very lonely position, right? So, like, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, when you guys go on the road and you come back from practice and everybody kind of gets their meal, and you guys as assistants, you probably go and eat your meal, and one area. And, you know, there's a couple of players over here and a couple of players over there. And you look around and it's like, where did Coach Gates go? Or where did Coach Robinson go? Well, nobody wants to be around you. Your players don't want to be around you. Your staff don't want to be around you. So you go up to your room and you're lonely. And Herb used to say this all the time. He was like, you know, he used to say this. He would say, "Love me more." And I was like, what? What are you talking about? But now I completely understand that he just wants or needs someone to come and just check on him. Hey man, what's going on? Pull him outside of his room and go for a walk with him. It's probably the last thing that you want to do, but he needs that. And you need that for him to be as good as you need him to be, if that makes sense. And again, learning your head coach, when and where. Like I heard a head coach at Florida talk about time, tone. The timing and the tone has to be on point all the time. All the time. There's a time, there's a tone that you have to take with what it is that you want to say, if you expect it to be heard. That makes sense.
Coach Lewis, if I'll say it a little bit differently. I believe as coaches, we have to be really good at being a noticer. We have to notice our players, and we have to notice our boss. You know, I was a head coach for 5 years, but an assistant coach for 18 years. And basically what Coach Taylor is saying, like, study them, almost be fascinated with their mannerisms so that you know at this particular time exactly what they need. Because I know exactly where we are as assistant coaches. Like, dude is in a bad way. How do I help this guy right now? Does he need to hear my voice? Does he need a recommendation? Or does he need me to say, hey, let's go take a walk, like Coach said? And you know, them Herb Sendek walks now, you know, them power walks were no joke. But to be a noticer is one of the things that I'm really focused on now. Like, man, just be, hey, we notice and we're infatuated with the things that we love, that interest us. And it's almost like we got to get our mind around that, man. Our boss needs us. I'll give you a great example. I was we got in Alaska. D, were you with were we in Alaska at Drake when you were on the team? Or when you were with Arizona State?
I think so.
Okay, so we were in Alaska. Long story short, there was this dude for Weber State, and he's a really good guard, and he's in the NBA right now. We're up one, and Damian Lillard gets in the paint, and our big guy does a great job, draws the charge, and charge is called. It's going to be our ball. We got to inbound the ball with 4 seconds left to go. And while the one player was going over to pick up our player who drew the charge, he passed the ball. And as he passed the ball, he hit it. And the ball goes up in the air like 16 feet. It's one of those things like, no. Sure enough, the referee called a technical foul. Damian Lillard goes down to the other end. He hits 2 free throws, and we lose the game. And I remember Herb, I literally, after the game, I'm looking for the referee for the first time in my life. Like, you don't lose a game that way. And I'll never forget Herb, to your point, Coach Lewis, he said, you know, you're a guy, and they did a good job. He said, where are your assistant coaches? They need to be around you right now. And we just need to study our bosses to do a really good job, because that's what we want to do. We want to support them. We want to make them look good. But that's a great question, man. Just be a noticer. And were you there in Alaska? Were you on the staff at Arizona State when that happened? I mean, yeah. No one knew really how good Damian Lillard was going to be, but we won the game. But one of our airhead other guys hit the ball, and we get a unnecessary technical foul. But anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And that's a great way to respond in terms of being a noticer. What does your head coach need?
Yeah. Coach, any other comments that you'd like to share? And please, if you have a question, let's jump in there. We're about ready to wrap it up, but anything else you care to share? You know, D, this has been great. You know, your path is impressive. And again, I say this with great belief, the best is yet to come. And you know, you're not old, you're young at heart, and great things are going to happen. And you navigated some tough areas, and I'm excited to see what happens. This means a lot for our membership for you to be on, because you're where a lot of us want to be, and this means a lot. Anybody else? Anything? Any final questions? Coach Santos, I'd love to ask you a question. You know, a behind the scenes Coach Taylor question, but I'm going to leave that on. Hey, Coach, I got one question for you, Coach Taylor.
Yeah.
We may end with this. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, Coach. For those of you who don't know, I rented a room from Coach Taylor back in Tempe, Arizona, back in 2006. And I always wanted to know, Coach, I would go in my bedroom about 10 o'clock at night and close the door and try to go to sleep. And there was some amazing racket coming from the rest of the house. What was going on in the house when I was trying to sleep?
I was probably doing laundry.
Oh, okay. All right. I appreciate that. I just wanted to get that clear. It's taken me 15 years, but I got the answer now. Good
Yeah,
deal.
I was probably doing laundry, trying to clean myself up for the next day, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah. I saw somebody asked a question about some books or something.
Yeah, they noticed your books behind you,
Yeah.
you wrote a book. You have a book recommendation.
Yeah, I got about my 5 favorite books, right? So here they go. The Energy Bus by John Gordon. I am a big believer in the Energy Bus, and it's not a one-time read. Like, I read it every single year because it's just that captivating to me, and I believe it. Above the Line by Urban Meyer.
Love it.
And I think he wrote it before he became the Urban Meyer that we are aware of the last couple of years. So take that into account. But some of the things that he talks about in there are super, super relevant and important. The other book, Why the Best Are the Best, by what's my man's name?
Kevin Eastman.
Kevin Eastman. What's the book? Oh, this one right here. The $1 Trillion Coach. The $1 Trillion Coach. It's about a coach by the name of Bill Campbell, who became a coach of the coaches in Silicon Valley. And literally, if you want to know anything about the way that I think and or believe, read this book.
Awesome.
Read this book.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, the $1 Trillion Coach. Those are big time. That book is particularly big time. So yeah, those are a couple of things. And as much as you can, again, that's a stress reliever for me. Read. I read now more than I did in college. Like, I never finished a book in college. Don't tell nobody else I said that. But I never finished a book cover to cover in college. And now, if I don't finish it cover to cover, I'm disappointed in myself.
Coach Taylor, the ghostwriter for Urban Meyer's book Above the Line, his name is Tim Kite.
Yeah.
And he's a leadership guru, if you ask me. He puts in a system of leadership. He actually ghostwrote that book. And if you guys get a chance, focus3.com is his company, focus3.com. He's outstanding. That book is awesome. And appreciate that. Those book recommendations. The $1 Trillion Coach, got to get that one.
Yeah, no, that's a big time read. That's a big time read, and it's nothing like you think it would be.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Coach Cabrillo said that Tim Kite and Urban Meyer had podcasts together.
Yeah.
And exactly. Good stuff. So
They
anyway.
do.
Hey, this has been awesome, Coach. We got to get you back. And this is, you know, for you to take the time and be very, very transparent means a lot. A lot of coaches don't do it, and we really appreciate it a lot.
No worries. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys, and one way or the other, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and ask me anything specifically, or you know, get to know each other. I'm all for that, and however I can help, just all you have to do, let me know, and I'll do everything I can to make that possible. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys and share my perspective. And I'll say this in terms of the awareness and challenging you all to you know, use this coaching thing as an opportunity to confirm or deny some of your beliefs. You confirm it by doing things like this. Maybe I helped you, maybe I didn't. You deny it by, again, doing things like this, going out and seeking the information. And once you have it, now apply it, what works to you. So I would definitely challenge you to continue to grow in that department.
Coach, how about one last question, Coach Schultz? It's a great question. Got to get it in.
Yeah.
What was the thing that you were unprepared for as a first-time head coach? You know, you know, one thing you learned when you first became a head coach, what was the challenge you weren't prepared for? And have you improved on that particular area that you were not prepared for when you became a head coach?
Yeah, I think dealing with, as a head coach, you're responsible for dealing with so many personalities. And you think those personalities only exist amongst your players. Sadly mistaken. The personalities that you really are responsible for and have to be cognizant of are those of your staff. Are they saying the same things that you're saying to your players? Are they on the same page? They believe what you believe, you know, those things. And I think that was something that I had to get a little more comfortable with, you know, just being aware of that. I didn't understand that dynamic and really didn't pay much attention to it as an assistant growing up in the business. But when I became a head coach, managing those personalities I mean, it's really important, and how important your staff is, you know, within managing those personalities. In my opinion, I think that's really important.
As an assistant, you have 8 or 9 things on your plate. You become the head coach, you have 59 things on your plate, and every personality. You're exactly right. Good stuff, Coach, man. We could keep going, but appreciate your time, and really appreciate all the membership being on. We'll have spaces again on Monday night. That'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then we'll come back next week. I can give you a sneak peek. Coach, you mind if I tell them who the guest is next week?
Me?
No. Do you mind if I let the cat out of the bag for the guest next week?
Go ahead. Please.
Coach Lorenzo Romar is going to be on next week, so we'll be able to pick Coach's brain there a little bit. And you know, we've had 3 outstanding coaches, and it's been awesome. D, you were great, man. Really appreciate it. Awesome stuff.
Opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Everybody have a good night. Take care.
Appreciate it, Coach. Big time.
Thank you very much.